and everybody saying, we want the funk. We gotta have that funk. We kick it old school, we think we're so cool. We take it back to the past, we gonna act a fool. Up jumps the middle finger, make my
Hello. Welcome to Sports Buzz, a Fanatical View. I am your host, Scott D. Lewis, here live in studio, Comcast Cable, Channel 23, downtown Danbury, Connecticut, on this October 25th. Late October, a little bit chilly out there. Winds are whistling, very sunny, pretty dry. We've had our share of rain, of course, but so far fall has been, I'd say, relatively decent. This weekend, that could change. Very wet and big winds coming in, nor'easter, the whole bit. Batten down the hatches, bring the cats and dogs in. It's going to be a rough one. We will see. But we are here live until 7 o'clock, and we will be opening the phone lines as well. 203-792-4101 is the number if you would like to call in. But I don't even know how to do this. I'm stumbling over my opening here because it's just so shocking. My right-hand man, Mr. Bob Rod Jr., is back in the hot seat where he belongs, behind the camera here, ready to talk to me. Hello there, Bob. How are you?
I'm doing well since I've been on a hiatus for...
Well, you haven't been on a hiatus. Our director, Mike Toohey, who is here tonight directing the show for 1 week only, unfortunately, has been the one who's stuck in some work schedule void that keeps him from helping us out down here. And you've been directing, doing a great job, but we love having you back out here. What's going on, Bob?
It's nice to be back out here.
I know.
It's been so long, I forgot what to do.
I know, me too. I couldn't figure out how to get to the proper way to open the show, but here we go. Bob's show, Spotlight on Tuesday nights at 9, Wednesdays at 12. You have the Snyder show coming up.
It's all. It was our best year this year in the 17 years we've been doing it.
That's great to hear. And
we had the parking lot was overfull. There was no place to park. That's how many people showed up.
Good day out there at
it was a
Vespucci
beautiful
Lodge.
day.
So that sounds like maybe that'll be the new destination for good, or at least for the time being. And people can check that show out, as I mentioned, Tuesday nights at 9, Wednesdays at 12. Also, you've got the Westerners Breakfast.
Yes, I finally got that edited.
That show's finally done, so that should be coming up, airing soon.
It's on it was on this past Tuesday, and it'll be on next Tuesday night at 9 o'clock.
All right, and I'll have to try to get those shows up online as well. You can always go to the Comcast Community Channel 23 website or their Facebook page, and right now we're streaming live through Channel 23 Facebook to find a lot of these shows. They are there. Mike's show, that's really been on hiatus. I think maybe we're going to tape some this week, however. Expose Cinema, Friday nights at 9, Wednesdays at 1. We'll see if we can get some shows done for him and get him back on the air, because he has been off. Tyler is here, our loyal sound guy. He's been doing big help for us. And once again, he walks in the studio tonight. Last week he said he couldn't believe the Yankees were out.
Yeah.
This week he said he can't believe the Red Sox are up.
Yeah.
I mean, when's it time for him to start believing in my Red Sox, Bob? Come on. Up 2-0, but he is here, and it's happy to hear that the high school kids, he said there's a lot of chatter in high school, so kids his age are into baseball, watching the World Series, checking it out, and so that is good to hear. Connor is the only one of the family here tonight.
Yes.
And he's playing some video game in the green room.
Yeah, but like I said, I was talking to you before the show. I was talking to our former Westerner pitching coach,
Sean Fesh. Local.
And we were talking about Matt Barnes. And he's been getting quite a bit of respect now.
Matt Barnes really is. He's had a great season. He's become a crucial part of the bullpen. He was the setup guy all season long, and they have now shifted him to and this is what's happening in baseball, they're finding innings early that are the crucial innings. It's like the crucial early closer inning. So he has a lot of times been coming in relief of the starter. When the starter starts to struggle, inning 5, 6, big part of the lineup coming up, they've been going to Barnes, and he's been getting crucial outs, to quench any rallies and bridge from the starter to the relievers who have then been getting it to the closer. So it's been tremendous what he has been doing. And I'm sure Sean has been paying attention.
He
Sean,
has.
former Bethel standout pitcher who was drafted as well, had a long pro career in the minors. Barnes obviously has broken through and been up on the big stage now for 4 years probably
Yes.
now out of Bethel, so which is great to see. Did Sean say who he liked in the series?
Of course, the Red Sox.
Oh, he's pulling for Barnes because Sean's actually a Mets fan.
Yes.
Right? Met fan like you.
Yes.
You guys have a general manager yet?
No. We're still looking.
Still looking around.
But, you know, like I said, like I was telling you too, VIT had done a 10-minute thing on Matt Barnes this past week, and they were also talking to his former UConn coach.
Oh, yeah? And yeah, well, Barnes had a couple matchups in the Astro series against his former teammate,
Yes.
George Springer. A couple of UConn guys there. So yeah, he did well. UConn was really good, actually.
yeah.
And did you see, did they talk about this? I think Matt Barnes is donating
Yes.
a huge chunk of money to the UConn baseball program,
Yeah,
right?
he is.
And they're going to have the bullpens named after him or something like that, but he's
Right.
donating a big chunk of money this
Plus now I found out he's doing a clinic every year now in Newtown.
in Newtown. I know, shout out to my guy Tom from Tom's Paint in Bethel,
Yeah.
where I go to get my painting supplies for work I do. His son's a baseball player. He's a catcher, and he caught Matt Barnes quite a bit this offseason as
Cool.
Matt was in the gym or the dome. They have a dome or something over there in Newtown,
Yes.
where he was working out. And so I know the kid who was catching him a lot of the time in the offseason. So good for Matt giving things back and being part of the community. And, you know, he's a local guy, so he comes back in the offseason, which is great. And we'll have to keep track of that and check out his clinic and what he's doing. And maybe he will come back and maybe he'll be able to show off a shiny World Series ring.
Well, that's why I said maybe we can have him in off season come on the show and do a nice.
Nice little segment with us.
Yes.
We'll have to look into that and see what we can do. And we'll have to hopefully see if he can bring in a World Series ring. You know that Mr. Fesh, Sean's father,
Yes.
Bill Fesh, Sr., he has a World Series ring
Yes, he does.
from his days, I believe, as a scout with the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Yes.
He worked with a bunch of different organizations, but I
believe
do
he also
believe
worked
the
for the
ring
Giants.
he got was with the Dodgers.
Yeah.
From when the Dodgers won in the late 70s, early 80s in some of their
Right.
matchups against the Yankees. And speaking of history and the Red Sox and the Dodgers, so they are matched up now. First time since, and this is the longest stretch between two teams meeting in a World Series since 1916.
Yeah.
And it was the Brooklyn Robins
Yes.
at the time before they became the Brooklyn Dodgers and then
Right.
ultimately moved to LA to become the LA Dodgers. And the Red Sox won that World Series 4-1. Babe Ruth, I believe, got 2 wins as a pitcher in that series. I know one game he pitched a complete game, 14 innings,
Right.
extra inning game. He pitched the entire 14 innings. He gave up 1 run in the first inning, and then he went 13 shutout the rest of the way
Right.
for the victory. And Casey Stengel, Casey at the bat was the
Yes.
big star for the Dodgers on that team in 1916. I think he hit about 340
Right.
in that series. So he actually had a good series himself, even though they lost 4-1 as the Red Sox were reeling off a stretch where they won, I think, 5 World Series in a stretch between 1902 and 1918.
Something like
They
that.
were the greatest team in the early part of the first 2 decades of the 1900s of that century. And now, you know, this show is called Sports Buzz: The Fanatical View, Bob, and it stems from a column I wrote for Hat City Entertainment.
Right.
And when I wrote for Hat City Entertainment, they won their second in 2007 against the Colorado Rockies. And in that article I wrote, it's beginning to look an awful lot like the early 1900s. And sure enough, they've won 1 more, and now they're in another, up 2-0. Maybe they'll get a 4th. Not quite the 5 or 6 was it that they had in that stretch in the early 1900s, but still, we will take it, and that
Yes.
will be reminiscent of what happened in the early part of last century. Let's get to it. Last night, David Price now has gone back-to-back after not having a victory in the starting situation for 10 games in the postseason.
Right.
And now he finally gets, as he pitched the clinching and deciding game against the Astros to close it out in Houston. And we went 6 shutout in that game, game 5. And then last night he comes in Fenway, he goes 6 and gives up 2. He had the one tough inning. And as he said, he made good pitches, but they're a good team, and they got to him a little bit in that inning, but he shut it down, didn't give up more than 2, as the Red Sox fell behind 2-1 after taking another 1-0 lead in this game. And then they rallied and tied it up and went ahead with a 3-run 5th inning. And really, that pitcher for the Dodgers was kind of dealing at that point.
Yeah.
He was cruising, and this has been the theme for the Red Sox throughout the postseason. 2-out rallies, Bob. 2 outs, nobody on,
right.
The bottom of the order. They're getting clutch and big contributions from everybody up and down the lineup. Christian Vasquez gets a single to extend the inning and get to the top of the order with 2 outs. So he gets on, and then Mookie comes through with a hit.
Right.
And then Andrew Benintendi works a long at bat, about 9 pitches before drawing a walk to load the bases. And they pull the pitcher who had really been cruising through that part, and they pull him in the 5th. They go to Matson, the reliever they picked up from I think Washington, the Nationals midseason, and for the second night in a row he can't handle it, and he gives up inherited runners to score. Walked Pierce, and then J.D. Martinez, and I think we saw those pictures already. Delivers with a nice shot.
Right.
Pokes one out into right field. It gets down, 2 runs come in. They get the 4-2 lead. And then Price settles back down after his shaky inning. And he goes 1-2-3 in the 6th. And the bullpen comes through and they go 1-2-3, 1-2-3, 1-2-3. And they retire the final, I think it was the last 14 batters, right?
Right.
As they didn't give up anything. As they close it out, a tidy 3 hours and 10 minutes as opposed to the night before. That game went super late. The 8-6 one they got where they held on, 8-4 I mean, in game 1. So again, Bob, 2-out rallies. Did you see some of the stats they were pointing out? More than half of the runs they've scored in this entire postseason have come with 2 outs.
Oh, yeah.
That is really unbelievable. Like 39 out of 68 runs or something like that have come with 2 outs. They're batting over 400 with 2 outs and runners in scoring position. So they're just coming up clutch. We know in the series against Houston, Jackie Bradley Jr., JBJ, all 9 of his RBIs
right.
came with 2 outs over 3 straight games where he had 2 home runs, including a grand slam and a 3-run double. So they're just getting it done with 2 outs. And like we said, the bullpen and Cora. Now I got a question mark here and there. We see, the pinch hit they got in game 1, Nunez with the 3-run homer that busted open. He's punching, the right ticket here with all the moves he's making, Cora.
Right.
But I do have a question.
What's that?
Last night, they got 6 out of Price.
Right.
Joe Kelly, who's just been revived. I mean, if you asked any Red Sox fan if they wanted to see Joe Kelly on the playoff roster, let alone in a game,
they would have told you no.
No, we have seen enough. We don't want to see this guy at all. But he has somehow.
He somehow found out how to pitch.
And he is confident, pitching well, using his changeup a lot more to keep guys off base with his 100-mile heater, and is doing wonders. I did not think. I thought, speaking of Barnes, why wasn't Barnes in the 8th inning? He came back with Evaldi, which begs the question, who is going to pitch in Game 4? Can Evaldi come back after pitching in relief in Game 1 and Game 2?
I don't know. That's a very good question. Do you think he's going to have enough?
Pomerantz has been activated, so they could use him or Eduardo Rodriguez and maybe then go with a lot of bullpen activity. Evaldi maybe going 1 or 2 early. I'm not sure. Curious decision by him. And we saw the pictures also of Kershaw and Sale in Game 1. 2 aces on the mound, Bob. How about that? Kershaw and Sale, neither one of them can get an out in the 5th inning. So they go 4+ because they both did start the 5th. but neither one got an out as they got batters came on. I thought it was a quick hook for Kershaw. As a matter of fact.
I think they could have left him in a little longer.
Because I mean,
he's
what
got
did you walk a guy or
Yeah.
gave up a hit or something, and then he was out because his pitch count was lower than Sale's.
Oh yeah.
Sale, you knew was not going to last long because in the first inning he was over 20 pitches, and in
Right.
the second inning he threw over, I think, around 30 pitches. So
Right.
his pitch count was up around 50 after
Yeah,
two innings.
so he was getting kind of.
You knew that wasn't going to be good for him to go long, so he was out. So we'll see how those two do as they bounce back. I think they'll probably be matched up in Game 5 in
Right.
LA if needed. Defense has been a big factor as well for the Red Sox. We saw the picture of Benintendi with that great Air Jordan moment as
Yeah.
he launched himself last
up
night
against the
right in front of the wall. He thought he was going to crash into it. They're calling him Air Benny now with that catch. We know he made that huge catch against the Astros to end that Game 4, which was tremendous. It's just been great. And Kimbrel now, I think, has been worked his way back into top form.
Right.
Kimbrel is a guy, and they pointed this out early in these playoff series, who if he doesn't get enough work, which he did not get enough of in September as they were cruising and they had everything wrapped up,
Right.
and then with the built-in off days in the postseason, if he has more than 3 days rest, his ERA balloons to 6. And if he's on 2 days or less rest, his ERA is down below 2. And so now they have him worked, and he's kind of settled back in as he's been getting extra work as the playoffs have gone on. And he has been lights out against the Dodgers in the first 2 games, which is a great omen because he was Heart Attack City against the Yankees and against the Astros, but looking very good right now. And then, of course, the temperature, Bob.
Oh.
Tyler thinks the Dodgers are going to be able to recover.
Yeah, especially since it'll be nice and warm out there in
As
Cali.
he says,
so-
well, they're better at home, which they probably are. They really recovered against the Brewers after falling behind 2-1 early in that series, and they won Game 4 and 5 against the Brewers to send it back up 3-2. We'll see what they can do against the Red Sox. They really need to get Game 3 big time, although, again, it's going to be a pitcher I've never heard of. I never heard of the guy they had going last night. I didn't even write down his name. I
like
don't know
said,
the guy who's.
There's only like 2 players I know on the Dodgers.
I mean, where's
And
Rich
it's
Hill?
not
I
like-
know who that is, and we
it's
know
not
who
like it
Kershaw
was
is.
back in the day, you know.
I mean, their lineup is going to be able to be more potent, you would think. It was the first time ever in World Series history that in Game 1 and 2, both teams ran out lefties.
Yeah.
So the 2 lefties for the Red Sox meant that a lot of right-handed power was on the bench
Right.
for the Dodgers in Game 1 and 2. They came in and pinch hit late in some of these games against the bullpen, but by that point, they were frozen. This is the other crazy stat. These were the coldest temperature games the Dodgers have ever played in their history.
Right.
I mean, that's a long time. I guess it's got to be in LA history.
Right.
I would imagine Brooklyn maybe played some colder games. But
Yeah,
the
but the
coldest
thing is,
temperature games.
You got to remember, here in Brooklyn, which was in New York,
Mm-hmm.
it's always cold. I mean,
Cold,
throughout
right,
the whole.
and,
but then again, the World Series didn't
The World
go
Series used to play
right.
earlier in the year.
and we were done by the second week of the third
A
week
lot
of
of World
October.
Series, I mean, even if you think about Kirk Gibson, that was
Right.
late 80s. That
Right.
took place in week 1 and 2 of
Right.
October, not week 3 and 4 heading towards November
Right.
of October, which is what happens now with the extended playoffs. But their coldest temperature games ever in LA Dodger history was played in San Francisco,
Right.
58 degrees. This game 1 was 53, I think, and then game 2 started at 48 degrees.
And then-
It was chilly, and
the
it'll
other-
be last year. Game 1 was 96 degrees
Right.
in LA
Right.
against Houston. So a big change. I think it's supposed to be in the 80s this weekend. Of course, it's not. It's good they're not playing in Boston this weekend with the nor'easter and all the rain and wind. That would have been brutal up here this weekend. So we'll see what happens
there
in
would have
game.
been some rain delay. It would either have been a rain delay or it could have been a rained out game, which would have pushed it
It
back
would have been
even
something.
farther.
I don't know. And so it is also interesting. It's worth mentioning. You know, Boston and LA have obviously the huge rivalry in basketball. The famous chant BLA, BLA, BLA. I did not hear that in game
No.
1 and 2. You know what I did hear
What's
in game
that?
1? Yankees suck.
Oh, yeah,
The
well.
famous Red Sox chant. They were more interested in reminding the Yankees of their place these days
Right.
than breaking out the Beat LA chant. I'm
Right.
surprised I did not hear that because that is a famous Celtics-Lakers chant.
Right.
And I thought there would be a little bit more of that. Maybe they did it and I didn't hear it, but I did not hear that.
No, I did not hear the.
And you know, the animosity, you would think it's not quite the same with the Dodgers because, to be honest, as a Red Sox fan, and at the age I was between 8 and 12
Right.
when the Dodgers were playing the Yankees and they beat the Yankees.
Right.
So I hated the Yankees so much that I actually liked the Dodgers because they were a team that stepped up and beat them, much like Cincinnati did as well. So I always had a bit of an affinity towards the Dodgers because they were a rival to the Yankees because they played them many times in the postseason in the World Series and
Well,
they had
back
beaten
back
them.
in the day when the Dodgers played the Yankees in New York, it was it's like every year the Yankees played the Dodgers, the Yankees played the Giants. That's basically what it was.
Right. So that was an interesting subplot, and of course their manager Dave Roberts holds a place in every Red Sox fan's heart for stealing the base. After Kevin Millar walked, Dave Roberts stole the base. Bill Miller got the hit.
Right.
This game was tied. They won it in extra innings in Game 4 against the Yankees, and then came back and won 4 straight overall to reverse the curse on the way to the 2004 championship. He got a huge standing ovation as they introduced him before Game 1. And Alex Cora was brought up in the Dodgers organization
Right.
and then played for the Red Sox. So both managers played for both teams. Interesting. Speaking of NBA and that rivalry, Bob, let's jump off this and try to work through a couple things as we're probably down to about 7 minutes or so. I think we're above 5 at least.
6 minutes.
6 minutes. All right. NBA has gotten underway. I have not been watching it all,
No,
but
I
I do.
haven't either. I know the Bricks are still,
I'm just not into it yet. It's too early. Again, they've extended this season. It used to start in the first week of November. Now it starts second weekend of October.
I know.
NHL as well is underway early and often. But the NBA is active. The Celtics are going through the motions right now at a very mediocre at best 2-2 start. They barely beat the Knicks the other night. They lost to the Magic following that. They had a great win to open the season against what should be their biggest rival in the East this year, the Sixers. They did lose to the new-look Raptors as Kawhi Leonard showed up, and the Raptors now with Kawhi are 5-0, so watch out for that. I'm not sure what people are thinking as far as that trade goes. I mean, Kawhi is one of the top 3 legitimate MVP candidate players if he's healthy, and he looks like he's healthy and ready to go. So the Raptors could be very tough as they made that trade to get him, and Denny Green as well, who is a very solid player. So that is going to be worth watching, what happens with Toronto, what happens with the Celtics. I think the Celtics will bounce back. They've got a marquee game tonight on TNT against Oklahoma City. We'll see what that's about. How about this shot clock rule, Bob? Did you see this?
No.
I mean, scoring is up in the NBA already. Before this season, it's up this season to start. So if you get an offensive rebound now, the shot clock does not reset to 24. It only goes to 14. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
Who
Why are
came
they
up with this brilliant idea?
I don't know why they got to do this. I mean, the NBA scoring has been up already. You know, the Warriors reset the whole way basketball is played in the NBA. Everybody's scoring over 100. It's back to 80s style basketball.
Right.
So why they got to do that? I don't like that at all. I think that's ridiculous. Brooklyn is 2-2, and the Knickerbockers are 1-4, and they actually lost.
Kind of fits with the rest of the way New York's been going.
They lost to Brooklyn the other night. Brooklyn, the Nets are jamming, and they beat them. And how about Bron? They finally got a win, but they started 0-3. They're 1-3. They had a brawl against the Rockets. A bunch of players got suspended. And then Bron bricked a couple free throws in an overtime loss against the Spurs that they lost by 1 point, 143 to 142.
Ooh.
Scoring is up in the NBA. NHL, we'll mention real quick. Bruins off to an okay start. They're
My
2 points out of
Rangers
first
are
place in their division.
They're hitting hard already.
Islanders and Rangers are tied for last place in their division at 7 points. Devils right in front of them at 8 points. But it's early. We'll see what happens. I do want to mention some soccer because this Sunday is decision and final day of the regular season for MLS.
Right.
My Revolution have long since completed their collapse. They are disgracefully out of the playoffs again. Really disappointing what's going on in New England. But so it's Atlanta is holding off the Red Bulls for a battle for first place at 69 points. Red Bulls 68. NYCFC, Philly, DC. Wayne Rooney got it done. They clinched a playoff spot. They were not in the playoffs when he joined that team, and he rallied them and got them. They are clinched. They're trying to hold off Columbus for the 5th seed. Columbus is trying to hold off Montreal for the 6th seed, 6th and final seed. So games this weekend. The Revs could play spoiler as they play Montreal, as a matter of fact, on Sunday. So they could keep Montreal, and that's an old rivalry for that region, Bruins, Montreal. So the Revs should be up for that game. We'll see. Out west, it's KC, LAFC, Dallas, Seattle, Portland are all in. And then one matchup, Salt Lake, Real Salt Lake, and LA Galaxy. Galaxy is 1 point behind Salt Lake trying to get in. They play Houston this weekend to try to leapfrog Salt Lake to get in. So I did want to mention that.
You got any college football?
Bama, Clemson, Notre Dame, LSU, and Michigan. LSU and Michigan each have one loss, but the top three are undefeated. How about the love? Where is UCF, who hasn't lost a game in 2 seasons?
Right.
They're 7-0. They are officially listed as co-champs last year, Bob, because they finished undefeated, and they stuck a claim to the championships. That is in the record books. UCF, they're only ranked number 10. They should be in the top 5.
Right.
You haven't lost a game in 2 years. Come on, give me a break.
How's your Colorado State doing?
They're actually doing okay now that the conference play is going. They had such a terrible start, though, so I kind of lost my way with them. UConn stinks, of course. Week 8 NFL, a couple big things. Dolphins-Texans tonight. That's actually a big matchup. Both teams have 4-3. London games have been going on, which I've been missing entirely. But maybe I'll actually tune in Sunday morning. Eagles, Jaguars, 2 3-4 teams. What happened to the Jags and what happened to the Super Bowl champs?
I don't know.
The Eagles blew that game against the Panthers. They were up 17-0 at home in the 4th quarter against the Panthers. What is going on there? Very surprising.
30 seconds.
And the Redskins beat the Panthers this weekend. So the Redskins are the top team in your division. Your Giants 1-6, another loss.
Their season's over.
And they traded Eli Apple and Snacks. What's Snacks' last name? But they traded Apple and Snacks this week, blowing up the team. 1-6. Your Giants stink. My Patriots have won 4 in a row, back in first place, 5 2. They get the Bills this weekend. They've held off the Bears at the Windy City on a Hail Mary on the final play.
So maybe when we come back next week,
we'll see who the World Series champion. It'll be done by then, no matter what, even if it goes 7. We'll see you then. And it was good having you back in the hot seat, Bob. Take care.